Next to me is the Ford Raptor R, a gnarly off-road truck with the engine from the Shelby GT500. Yes, that's right, under the hood of the Raptor R is a 5.2-liter supercharged V8 making 700 horsepower and 640 pound-feet of torque. Now, despite this being a massive truck weighing just under 6,000 pounds, thanks to its all-wheel drive system, it's able to launch from 0 to 60 miles an hour in 3.6 seconds. Yes, that's right, 3.6 seconds to 60 in a truck. The crazy part is it actually makes more torque than the Shelby GT500. They wanted to gear it for more low-end torque, so it's actually got a smaller, faster spinning supercharger pulley. This thing accelerates crazy fast. Exterior-wise, the Raptor R looks extremely similar to the standard Raptor. In my opinion, I wish they had had some differentiating factors like a quad exhaust or a different front and rear bumper. But alas, it still looks absolutely incredible. Here are some little hints at how you can tell a R from a standard V6 Raptor. For one, obviously, it's got the Raptor R logo in code orange. It also has code orange tow hooks. If you come up here, the hood bulge is a little bit different. Extra airflow for that supercharged V8. And you'll also notice it's got this graphics package. It's made up of little 8s. It's actually supposed to look like the floor of the desert, kind of cracked surface, but I think it's cool that it's a nod to the supercharged V8. Viewing the Raptor from the side, you'll notice the enormous 37-inch tires. Now, the V6 Raptor comes standard with 35s, but you actually can do a factory upgrade to 37s. But because the engine is heavier, weighs about 200 pounds more, the entire truck, compared to the standard Raptor, they've beefed up the suspension a bit. You've actually got more ground clearance. They've got a more impressive electronic damping system. They also beefed up the front axle as well as the front drive shaft to handle that additional amount of torque. But pretty much from the side, it looks like your typical Raptor. Other than if you get this optional graphics package, which once again has a whole bunch of 8s, and when the car itself is finished in code orange, it makes it look like it says Rapto instead of Raptor. This blends in a little bit too much. From the back, the Raptor R looks virtually identical to the standard Raptor, other than this little code orange R right there. It does look nice, however. Now, despite being a super truck, this thing can tow 8,700 pounds. It also can fit 1,400 pounds of payload in the back. If we click this little button here, the tailgate drops down, and it's actually got, I can't decide if I like these features or they're a little bit gimmicky, but it is helpful. This pops out, and then look at this. You've got a handle that you can use to step up into the truck. Now, I imagine you wouldn't want to be caught dead by other friends or truck owners using this to get into your truck, but if you need the assistance, it's quite handy. Now, we also have a little ruler, both in metric and standard units, and a nice lined 5.5-foot bed. The interior of the Raptor R is extremely nice. I love the different usage of materials. We've got nice carbon fiber, Alcantara, leather. It starts at $109,000, which is a lot of money. But you're also getting the coolest truck of all time, so perhaps it's a small price to pay. Let's go ahead and hop in the rear seats. There's so much space back there. Get a load of how much legroom and how much headroom I have in the back of this thing. I mean, I could stretch my legs out almost all the way. Super comfortable rear seats. You can fit 3 across. We've also got this fold-down armrest with some cup holders here. We've got a nice plug, heated seats, which is really nice. We've also got an actual outlet, household outlet to charge your laptop. Some more charging ports as well. One of my favorite parts about the truck is this massive sunroof, one of the biggest I've ever seen. We've also got an electronic opening rear window right here that you can slide open from the front so you can hear more of that beautiful exhaust. Back in the front of the Raptor, and it actually has 2 really unique features that I love in the interior. It's got a little button right here by the shift lever, and if you click that, it folds the shift lever down. And when you first look at that, you go, why would you need that? Well, watch this. If you fold open the center storage area, it actually becomes a perfectly flat table. So you can eat or do work out on the job site. I think this is a pretty darn cool feature. It's also got something else that the LaFerrari has, which is pretty funny. It's got controls to the left of the steering wheel that actually control the distance of the pedals from you. independent from the seat. So I can move the seat forward and backwards, but I can also click a button to make the pedals come closer or farther away. We've got a beautiful leather-wrapped steering wheel that feels great in your hands. It also is heated with the click of a button here, which is fantastic in the wintertime. We've also got two massive paddles mounted behind the wheel, feel nice to the touch, mated to that 10-speed automatic transmission. Digital instrument cluster behind it that's semi-customizable. Now we've got a 12-inch infotainment screen right here, which is touchscreen, although I will say the graphics are a little bit lackluster. It's kind of this sea of grays and blues, especially compared to the Ram TRX, which has incredible graphics. I wish they spiced it up a little bit. That being said, all the controls are super useful. We've got different driving modes selected right here. We've got different trailer brake controls here as well, all of the climate, 12-volt outlet. Definitely a very practical truck. All right, let's get it out on the road, shall we? Behind the wheel of the Raptor R now, and I'm absolutely in love with this thing. I'm not even a truck person, but having spent a week behind the wheel of this, I love almost every single thing about it. It feels so beefy on the road. It honestly feels like more of a tank than the standard Raptor just because of that torquey V8. Now, it took a little bit of getting used to the dimensions of this thing because, well, I'm used to driving small little sports cars and not a truck. But after a bit, I've gotten really used to the size of it, and it's actually not all that difficult to drive. For an impressive off-road vehicle and something that has 700 horsepower, it's really easy to hop in and be comfortable right away. And I'm really surprised, even though it's got those big 37s, there's no tire noise whatsoever. There's not really any road noise. This is a vehicle that you actually could daily drive. I'm serious. Now, the gas mileage isn't great. I've averaged 9.6 miles per gallon over the last 376 miles that I've put on this truck. 9.6 isn't great, but at the same time, are you really buying a Raptor R with 700 horsepower and worried about fuel economy? If you are, then power to you. Oh man, this thing is so comfortable when it needs to be and so aggressive when you want it to be fun. So we've got this toggle to the right of the steering wheel with all of the different drive modes to select. We are in sport mode right now, which is my favorite. Makes the throttle response a little nicer, opens up that exhaust. What I do like is you can individually control the different driving modes and you can customize it using this R button on the steering wheel. If you click that twice, it puts it into R mode, and it's basically like BMW M1 mode on an M5 or an M4, where you can choose different steering feel, different suspension setups, different exhaust setups on a truck, which I think is pretty cool. The other thing I love is when you start up the Raptor R for the first time, it actually prompts you on the screen and says, would you like to return to sport mode? So you can just click OK and it'll put you back into the mode that you were in before. More vehicles need to do that. Now, let's talk about the soundtrack, because this thing is absolutely brilliant. One of my favorite buttons in the entire truck is up here, where we can open that rear window right there and you can hear the exhaust even more. We're gonna click M. That puts it into manual mode, downshift a couple times for that 10-speed automatic transmission. And I'll let you listen to this beast. Interestingly, you don't get a ton of supercharger whine, but it's a brilliant sounding V8. Obviously, the TRX sounds really good as well. You can't go wrong either way in terms of exhaust note. Honestly, after spending some time in this, I would choose the Raptor R all day, every day over the TRX. My one complaint is I do wish, this probably wouldn't work for towing and some other capabilities like off-roading, but for a performance truck, if they had put the 7-speed DCT from the GT500 in here, we'd have faster launches as well as faster gear changes. The gear changes in this thing happen not the quickest. You pull the paddle and it shifts, but downshifts are a little bit lackluster. But that being said, how many people are going to be driving their truck around, blasting through canyons and using the paddles? Pretty unlikely. Now, I do want to talk about how you launch this thing. I learned from my friends at Motor Trend the best way to launch the Raptor R, because it doesn't actually have launch control like the TRX. There's a setting you can turn on called auto hold. Basically, the brakes will hold itself on a hill. You press the brake pedal all the way down, and when you release the brake, it'll hold the truck. Once it's in that setting, all you do is just floor the gas all the way down when you're in sport mode. Let's go ahead and try that out, shall we? All right, come to a standstill, floor the brake all the way down, it says hold, and then just floor the gas, 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. I mean, it launches so well, it's hilarious. A little bit of wheel spin, all 4 wheels lighting up, and then it just takes off reliably, even in the rain. I've driven this in the last couple days in the pouring rain. Even if the surface is slightly damp, it still launches impressively fast. Now, one of my favorite parts about this truck compared to the TRX is the fact that you can put it into rear wheel drive mode and turn the traction control off and do burnouts. I don't understand how the TRX has a Hellcat engine, the burnout king, and it can't go into rear wheel drive mode and do any burnouts or drifts. I know that's not really the point of a truck, but it's hilarious. You know, it's a hilarious concept to have a 700 horsepower V8 in a truck, so you might as well have as much fun as possible. Watch this. I put it into 2 high, I press and hold till traction control is all the way off, and this is absolutely epic. I mean, what? A smoky all-wheel drive, a smoky burnout in a truck. That is way too cool. I'm in love with this thing. All right, we'll put it back into 4 high and turn traction back on. Another amazing feature of the Raptor R is its lane keep assist. It has a form of self-driving. If you click the adaptive cruise control button on the left side of the steering wheel, it can speed itself up, slow itself down with traffic, but it can also steer the steering wheel in the lanes. I'm in the canyons right now, so obviously that's not an ideal place for it, but I'll overlay some B-roll of this thing actually driving itself, and it's pretty darn good. All you have to do is keep your hands on the steering wheel. If you take your hands off the steering wheel, it all of a sudden prompts you, hey, put your hands back on the steering wheel, and you have to jiggle it a little bit. But if you just give the lightest pressure on the steering wheel, it's pretty good at understanding that you're paying attention, and I found it to be really, really nice. And this big of a truck, I got stuck in traffic for several hours yesterday, and it was nice to be able to relax and have this thing basically do everything for me. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Like always, please browse the channel and subscribe. I'm in love with the Raptor R. I think it's the best truck Ford has ever made. I loved the first gen Raptor, particularly because of that V8. And the second and third gen were incredible, but it was missing that true Ford American muscle. And now it's got one of the most ridiculous powertrains of all time. It's practical, it's off-road capable. You could daily drive this thing. It's luxurious. It's got really, really practical amenities, charging everywhere, a really, really good speaker system. The optional Bang & Olufsen sound system is fantastic. All right, guys, I look forward to seeing you next video.